All right, welcome to the boot camp training, everyone. For everyone that knows me, I'm grateful you decided to take action today and join us over the next few days as we dive into facing your shit, gaining clarity on your life and goals, developing discipline, winning in your environment, and finding and creating new opportunities. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Luis Garcia. I grew up in North Philadelphia, former drug dealer, Army combat veteran, and now business owner and book author. I talk about entrepreneurship and the things that I go through day to day and the tools and strategies that I use to succeed through that. So if you're ready, grab a pen and paper, Google Doc, and let's get started. So today we're going to talk about facing your shit and gaining clarity. Now, growing up in the hood, you don't have many options. Growing up in a low income environment, you don't really have many options as well. Um, with that being said, we tend to come up with a lot of excuses. We tend to deal with a lot of drama in our environment. We tend to not take responsibility and take accountability for what we do on a day to day. And that's really what I found has hindered not just myself, but a lot of people that grew up with me back. So I grew up in North Philadelphia, and growing up in a low income environment and in what we call the hood doesn't really present a lot of opportunity to you. And I hear people saying all the time, like, hey, you know what? I don't have opportunity. I don't have this. We don't have that. They grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth. They grew up with daddy's money. They grew up with all of these other opportunities. And in the hood, we don't have those things. We don't have opportunity. In a low income environment, you don't have $1 million that you can go pay for school, pay for college, pay for clothing, for your parents to take care of you and provide this great fucking life that we see on the TV every day. And now looking back, I learned a lot of things that kind of helped me transition out and or help me gain enough clarity in facing my shit and getting out. And I'm going to go over a little bit of that in here. A few things that really helped me get out of the hood and get out of this mentality was facing my shit and gaining clarity. And the way I like to face my shit and gain clarity was, or the way I did face my shit and gain clarity was just taking ownership and accountability for my day-to-day decisions. Now, when you're stuck in the hood, you become almost conditioned to the way society operates in that hood, the way your environment operates. And the way your environment operates is kind of a survival mindset, a survival. Everyone's hungry. Everyone needs money. Everyone's trying to get to the next meal. Everyone's trying to pay their next bill. Everyone's trying to maintain the little things that they do have, such as pride or respect or things like that. And that becomes a really big thing when you're stuck in a low income neighborhood and or just a hood in general. And when you're stuck in these type of situations, it forces you to make a lot of emotional decisions. It forces you to make a lot of excuses. It forces you not to take ownership and accountability because it's easy to blame shit on everything else. It's easy to say, you know what? We don't have money, so I can't do this, or I have to hustle, or I have to do this. We don't have money, so I have to rob people. We don't have money, so I have to take shortcuts and cut corners here and cut corners there. And look, I get it. I was in that type of situation. We had to do whatever made, we had to do whatever we had to do to make it work. I've been in those situations. So I definitely understand when you're in that type of environment, what it kind of forces you into. But here's the thing, you can take clarity or you can face your shit and take ownership and accountability. In a situation like this, a big excuse that people give me is, oh, I can't do that. I don't have time for that. Or I don't have resources and assets for that. I can't make those things happen because it's not meant for me, because the hood's not designed that way, or we weren't given the opportunity to do that, or I don't have enough knowledge and information. Well, if you're watching this video right now, I'm telling you, you have access to everything you fucking need to get that shit done, to everything you need to gain clarity, everything you need to face your shit. If you're on this call right now, you're one of those people who want to face your shit, who know your shit's been fucked up, and you're trying to gain discipline and you're trying to gain confidence in order to face your shit. And I'm going to help you through that. Look, I don't know what you're going through right now, but if you're here trying to get out of whatever situation you're in. And you're probably more than likely in these situations because of lack of clarity. You're probably in these situations because you're coming up with excuses on a day-to-day that you don't realize, and they might be valid excuses. You might not have the capital right now you need to go start this business. You might not have the resources you need to put one and two together to make three. You might not have the network or the mentors or the whatever else, right? Those are all valid excuses. But when facing your shit and gaining clarity, you have to cut through the bullshit. You have to cut through the noise. You have to push aggressively regardless. And a lot of you might be like, you know what? I don't have the time for it. You just made time over the next few days to be on this video call. You can make time for the next few days for the rest of this year to develop some sort of skill set, to develop some sort of network or some sort of capital or whatever, gaining whatever information that would be useful for whatever your goal is. I'm going to run through this and I want you guys to, stay with me. I'm going to probably be talking a little bit fast, but stay with me on this. What I like to use is called the death ground strategy. And the death ground strategy is a strategy that I use in order to gain a sense of urgency and cut through my bullshit and gain clarity on what I would do and what no shit it would take for me to accomplish my goal. So if I'm going through this death ground strategy, what I like to do is think about somebody I love the most. And I have that person in the back of my mind or at the front of my mind rather. And what I want you to do right now is think about that person that you love the most in the world. I don't care if it's your mom, sister, brother, kid, significant other, whoever. Think about that person right now, and I want you to say their names out loud. So, okay, now that you have that person in mind, I want you to imagine, just again, hypothetical, this is just an exercise. I want you to imagine that you get a phone call and someone has that person for ransom. Someone calls you and say, hey, look, I got this person, and if you don't come up with $1 million in the next 30 days, I'm going to kill this person. I'm going to blow their fucking head off. What are you going to do? I want you to really think about that. What would you do if someone called you and said, you know what? I have this person, and if you don't come up with $1 million in 30 days, I'm going to kill them. You can only use your skill sets and sell whatever products and service you have. You can't sell your personal car, your personal clothing, your personal whatever. You can't take out a loan. You can't borrow money. You can't go to the cops and say, hey, look, this. You can't go on Facebook and start a GoFundMe account or something like that. You have to just use your product and service. Now, when you're thinking about this, is overwhelming. And of course, it's going to be overwhelming because this is a really big fucking amount that you've never done before. You've never created this amount before. You've probably never created six figures before, and that's okay. This is going to help you create that. This is going to help you get you in the right mindset to creating that type of wealth or capital. So what I got to do is I got to break the macro into micro. So again, if I'm a fitness trainer and I'm selling my services at $50 an hour, that's going to produce about $35,000 in a month, assuming that I'm making $1,000 a month per client and I got 35 clients. And now, if I'm trying to make $1 million in a month, that's nowhere near enough. But 35 clients is a lot of fucking clients to work with every day for 5 days a week for the next 30 days. So how do I scale now my time and my income? Well, okay, if I had to make, and this is just if I had to make $1 million in a month and I had to make $35,000 a day, well, how can I scale this a little bit further? Well, what I would now do is try to sell packages because packages are going to bring me a bigger amount of income in a shorter period of time. So how do I sell a package as a fitness trainer? Well, I can always say, hey, look, you can work with me one-on-one over the next 90 days, 6 months, or a year, and here's how much I would sell that for. So let's say if I was doing, because we got to come up with $1 million this month. Let's just say I was selling packages. If I sell them at $1,000 per month, if I'm working with a client 5 days a week, there's only two ways to increase my revenue. You can increase your revenue by increasing the volume in which you sell your product or service, or you can increase your revenue by increasing the amount that you sell your product and service for. So if I'm selling my product or service for $50 an hour and I'm trying to make $1 million in a month, what I can do instead is start selling packages. So that way I'm not dealing with all of these people on a day-to-day basis trying to sell them for $50, $50, $50, $50, or $1,000, $1,000, $1,000. I'm going to sell it for way more. So what would I package this up as? If I'm selling my product or service, let's call it $1,000 a month for these fitness classes over a 12-month period, that's $12,000. Now, I have $12,000 that I could sell. Here's the thing. We have to make, if I'm trying to make $1 million in a month, I have to make $35,000 a day, which means if I sell 2 packages, I pretty much have almost that $1 million. So if I sell 2 packages if I sell 3 packages every day, annual packages, I'll make that $1 million in a month over the next 30 days. If I sell an annual package and I sell it at $1,000 a month for the next 12 months and it's $12,000, I can sell that package for $12,000. I can say, hey, look, I'll work with you for a year. You got to be committed to doing this long term. The only way I'm even comfortable with dealing with you on this level is if you're committed to doing it for a year. If you're not committed to doing it for a year, I don't want to work with you because I only work with the fucking best. And if you want to be the fucking best, I'm going to help you be the best, but you have to be fucking committed. And in order to be committed, you're going to need to jump into my year-long program. My year-long program is a 12-month program. We work 5 days a week, an hour a day, but it costs us $12,000 to jump into that. Well, now what? All I need is 3 of those conversations. If I got 3 of those conversations, that's $36,000. Now, here's the thing. Most people are afraid to ask for shit like that. And you're afraid to ask for shit like that because you don't receive shit like that. And you may not receive shit like that. But who said you have to sell to you? You can go to fucking any gym or any level entrepreneur, business owner, whomever, who may have the type of money or capital to buy something like that. And you can deal with them. And you can sell them a $12,000 package. Fuck, if you really want to get crazy with it, you can increase your prices and sell it for even higher. So let's say we were selling our package at $50 an hour. We're now, because I'm such a great fucking fitness trainer and I've done all my courses, I've got all my licenses, I've gotten a knowledge and education, I'm going to sell my shit for $100 an hour. Who says I can't? Maybe you're not comfortable with selling it for $100 an hour because the people you service can only afford $50 an hour. Well, change the people who you service. Instead of selling it for $50 an hour, find someone else who would buy for $100 an hour and sell it to them. So now my product or service that I would have been selling at an annual rate of $12,000 just became $24,000. So all I got to do now is sell to 2 people at $24,000, and I could even give them a discount. I could say, hey, look, I would charge $24,000 a year for this, but I'm only going to charge $20,000 if you sign up for my year-long program now. So I only got to sell 2 people at a year-long program at $40,000 per day. It's an annual program, but I need to sell 2 people per day to hit my $1 million revenue goal this month. So if I'm focusing on bigger packages, if I'm focusing on a better audience or better target market, then I'm going to be able to hit my goal. There's no reason why I can't. There's no reason why I can't. So now I just took a $50 service that would have generated you $1,000 a month, and I just showed you how to generate $1 million in a month. You take macro, you break it down to micro, and you take your micro and you think on a macro level, right? So it's something I have in my book called Plan Ass Backwards. This is kind of executing ass backwards. And I can go a little deeper into this inside of a course that I'll try to come up with for you guys. But that's what that is. If you have any other product or service, I want you to start thinking on those levels. Think on those terms. How can I take whatever product or service I have and make it a bulk package or make it a bigger package or an annual package or something like that, which I can then sell at a higher level and create that $1 million. And you might not have a service where you can think that you can do something like that. But if you have a product, who says you can't wholesale your product to a bigger distributor or a bigger company or another person or a few other people? If you have a clothing business and you have a great supplier in fucking India or China or wherever you have a supplier at, and you get your clothes for $5, who says you can't sell them for $7 to another person looking for a good supplier with good quality and play the middleman or middlewoman and start doing wholesale deals? You can add that as an additional stream of revenue on top of your clothing brand that you currently have. I've seen it done and executed on a day-to-day, and you can still make that amount of income. This is what people do with drop shipping as well. People will find a product and service in one part of the world with one supplier, and they'll up the price. Let's say if they get it for $10, they'll sell it for $12. They'll sell it online, run a little marketing campaign, open up an e-com shop, and now they're just doing drop shipping straight from the supplier or manufacturer to their consumer or client. Same situation. It's just marketing and packaging it up in a different way, negotiating the best deals for you, and thinking on a macro level with micro items or micro product and services. When going through something like this, you're not going to sit here and come up with excuses like, oh, I can't do this, or oh, I'm too tired. If it was your fucking child and you're trying to save your child, you would be up all day and fucking night looking for them in the street, trying to put up fucking missing signs or whatever. Okay, great. We know where they're at, sort of. We know what we need to do to get them back. So now you would transition that energy to working all day and night to get the fucking money to get it back. You're not going to come up with excuses. You're not going to say, oh, I don't have the time. You're going to make the fucking time. You're going to prioritize it. You're not going to say, oh, I don't have enough money. You're going to figure out how to make money just like what I just showed you right now. You're not going to say, oh, I don't have $1 million. I never made $1 million. I never made six figures. You're going to figure it the fuck out the same way I just showed you. You're not going to come up with excuses. That's the point. You're going to start gaining clarity real fucking quick on what's a priority for you on a day-to-day. You're going to start facing your shit really fucking fast and saying, you know what? That's not a valid excuse. I can't give my kid that excuse that, oh, mommy's too tired or daddy's too tired or I don't have the money right now. They're going to figure it the fuck out. Yes, you will be overwhelmed initially, but that's because you don't have clarity yet. When you start having clarity and you start breaking down your goals and creating and utilizing what I call the 3-2-1 plan, which again, we'll go over in a few here. But if you utilize the 3-2-1 plan ass backwards so that you can move forward and you break down macro into micro, you're going to be able to come up with the steps and whatever executable action items you need in order to create that type of revenue or generate that type of income. So I want you to really take that in and start thinking about how you can apply that to your life, to your product or services. What do you got in your life and product or services? If you were in that situation, you would be able to utilize and create a macro to micro strategy utilizing the 3-2-1 plan. So now you know what the death ground strategy is. I want to jump into this next strategy I have called the deathbed strategy. And I know I keep saying death ground, deathbed, or whatever, this whole death thing or whatever, but the opposite of death is life, right? So if we're in a situation where we're about to die, we're forced to think of how to grow. We're forced to think of how to live. If you're in a situation where you are in a life and death situation, it forces you to think of how you would like to live and how you would have lived. And I want you to start thinking about this new strategy that I have. And it's called the deathbed strategy. I want you to imagine that you're at home, going to sleep, and tonight is the last night on earth. If you went to sleep tonight and there was no tomorrow, what would you have done differently today? What would you have done differently in the past? Would you have kept those same people around? Would you have kept doing those same meaningless things that you do on a day-to-day basis? Or would you have gotten rid of those toxic people in your life? Would you have cared about those fucked up opinions? Would you have cared about what they said and their limitations and their projections of fear on you? Would you have cared about dwelling in that emotional state that you might have been in over the last few months? You might have been in a depressed state. You might have been in a heartbroken state. You might have been in a anxiety or overwhelming state where you're not making moves and executing on a day-to-day. Who would you have called more? Would you have called your mom and told her you love her more? Would you have called your sister, your brother, your kids? Would you have spent more time with certain people? Your environment, would you have sat in your environment or would you have traveled more? What would you have done spiritually? I want you to start thinking about all these things as if tonight was your last night on earth. What would you have done? What would you do today? If you had 24 hours left, what would you do today? What would you have done previously? Now, I have a worksheet that you should have gotten with this email when you first signed up. On this worksheet, I have it broken down so that you can break down this deathbed strategy. And you might have went over it, but if you didn't, it's really to give you clarity on what you would have done differently yesterday, today, and what you will do differently tomorrow. I really want you to take your time and going deep into that. And it's really important to really go into this because understanding that things aren't as important as they might seem is what's going to help you move on to the next level. Understanding that being caught up in this mindset, being caught up in this physical state, being caught up in your environment, being caught up with toxic people in your life isn't really as big as it is in the grand scheme of things. So tonight, again, I want you to take this strategy. I want you to write down all of the things that you would have done differently in the past, all the things you would have changed, whether it's your mindset, your physical state, your emotional state, your spiritual state, or your environmental state. And your environment is a really big part of it. Your environment includes your friends, family, and location, not just your location, because your environment are the people and things you interact with on a day-to-day. So these things have a funny way of breaking you down and holding you back if you allow it to. And that's the key word there, if you allow it to. You have the decision whether you want to continue down that path and whether you want to continue having these people in your life over the next 30 days, over the next X amount of years in your life. So tonight, go through this PDF guide and really break down this deathbed strategy. Really think of all this shit you've been wasting your time on, all of the passions you would have chased if tonight was your last night on earth. If you couldn't do it over again, what would you have done differently? And I want you to put that down in here. Okay, so now we went over the death ground strategy, which teaches you how to create urgency and how to face your shit and eliminate all excuses. We showed you the deathbed strategy, which shows you how to prioritize the things that are actually important to you in life and how to gain clarity on what those things are. Now we're going to go into the how to plan those things out and execute on them. This is called the 3-2-1 plan. And the 3-2-1 plan is designed in a way that helps you plan backwards so you can move forward. The entire purpose of this is to reverse engineer your success. People come up with goals and create strategies all the fucking time and create checklists and game plans and blah, 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 and all this bullshit. But all of it is moving in different directions. They'll say, oh, I want to do real estate. I want to do this. I want to do e-com. I want to learn fucking a new language. I want to do, but they're all not in alignment. They're all not tying into a bigger overarching goal. They're just shotgunning their way through life. And you might be one of these people. I used to be one of these people, and that's completely okay. But I want to get you in a more precise line of sight. I want you to create a real game plan and create a real pathway of not bulletproof clarity, but a strong enough foundation that if you drift away, you can always bring yourself back to. So this is called the 3-2-1 plan. Now, the 3-2-1 plan, I want you to think of the death ground strategy and think of what you wrote down as your big goal, audacious goal, right? This has to be an ambitious goal. This can't be a small goal where you can accomplish in the next quarter or the next 2 months or 5 months or whatever the fuck. This has to be a goal that you want accomplished in the next 10, 20 years. And I want you to write it down for your 3-year mark. And then I want you to write down and break that 3-year mark into half. In 3 years, if you win $1 million, I want you to divide by half. That's the rule of thumb with the 3-2-1 plan. You divide whatever your efforts are by half. So 3 years, you win $1 million. That means in 2 years, you need $500,000. That means in 1 year, you need $250,000. That means in 6 months, you need $125,000. That means in 3 months, you need $62,500. That means in the next 30 days, you need 20 grand a month to hit that 60, or you need 30,000 in the next 45 days. But if you wanted to break it down in a more manageable way, you can do 20,000 over the next 3 months, every month. So the point of this is so that you can stay on track and you understand how to put your left foot in front of your right and your right foot and continue down that path and your right foot in front of your left. Now, here's the thing. I want to break down this 3-2-1 plan and why it's so important and give you an example. Imagine if you were on this side of the street and you needed to go home. Well, where the fuck is home, right? If you don't know where home is and you're jumping up and down, spinning in circles, running up and down this side of the street, are you going to get any closer to home? How would you even know if you're getting closer to home if you don't know where home is, right? So what you say is, okay, here's my house. You figure out where I want to go. I want to go home. Here's the area where my house is located. Let me now create a plan of getting there. So if my house is across the street, I say, okay, in order for me to get the fuck home, I need to look in this direction, aim my body in this direction, and move my foot 1 foot in front of the other in that direction. Now, while I'm going through this, there's going to be things I need to be worried about, right? I need to be worried about traffic, oncoming traffic, making sure I maneuver around that, making sure I adapt to the traffic, making sure I'm not just running directly across the street, and I have a plan of maneuvering through traffic and getting to the other side of the street safely. So if that's how you plan on a day-to-day for regular shit, why don't you plan your goals in your life that way? Why are you doing all this busy shit and not getting to where you need to go to? Why are you, I'm not even going to say, why are you again? You get it. Get to where you have to go. In order to get to where you have to go, you have to plan ass backwards. Here's another example. You don't wake up in the morning, jump in your car, drive down the road 3 hours, look around, decide to stop in a shopping center, go into the grocery store, walk around for, a few minutes, and forget you didn't fucking put pants on, right? Like, you plan, okay, if I'm going to wake the fuck up, I'm going to go to the grocery store. I need to get milk. I got to go to the grocery store. How do I go to the grocery store? I get in a fucking car. Okay, what do I need to get in a car? I need a fucking car and I need keys. Okay, great. Let me find my keys. Okay, what do I do before that? Well, I need money to buy it, so I need to work. Okay, great. I got money now. I got my keys. What do I need to do? I need to make sure I have fucking clothes. Let me put some fucking clothes on and get ready and get dressed. And then I go to the grocery store. You don't just wake up the other way because it doesn't fucking make sense. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. The purpose of the 3-2-1 plan is to make sure that whatever your goals are, however ambitious your goals are, you're creating an action plan and a clear path to success to make sure that every move you make is effectively targeted towards that goal, is effectively contributing towards that end goal. A lot of times people feel like, and even I felt like, I was on the cusp of accomplishing something great. I always am right there before I break the ceiling, but I never break through the ceiling. I always get all of this work and energy and exert myself in order to accomplish this goal, but I never quite get the goal. And I'm always a step behind. And the reason why you're always a step behind is because you're not clear enough on the goal, and your plan isn't laid out clearly for you. You didn't create a clear path to success. So the 3-2-1 plan is designed to help you break through that ceiling that you're trying to get through, get to the other side of the line, get over the hill, and create a plan of action to actually get you over there. So with that being said, with this email, with your initial email, you should have gotten the deathbed strategy along with the 3-2-1 plan PDF. What I want you to do tonight is I want you to write down your 3-2-1 plan. Write down your biggest goal and then break that down 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. And then I want you to break down the 3-2-1 plan where 3 years, 2 years, 1 year with starting with your biggest goals. And then you're going to have a 90-60-30. And this 90-60-30 is designed so that you can create an action plan for the next quarter. So you can have a day-to-day action step that you need to accomplish starting today. So tonight, fill out the 3-2-1 plan. And again, I go over this in more depth and I elaborate deeper on this with the course that we're developing now. But if you have any questions and need help and support with creating your 3-2-1 plan or going through your deathbed strategy, I highly encourage you to DM us at Team Law of Ambition on Instagram, or you can email us at support@lawofambition.com. Like I said, guys, I'm diving deeper to this in the course that we're developing currently. But just be ready. If you have any questions, we're here to support. We're going to be supporting over the next few weeks. Have this ready before the next video tomorrow. I assure you it's going to be 10 times more effective and useful if you go through this tonight and follow along with the rest of this course. So if you guys have any questions, again, DM us at Team Law of Ambition or email us at support@lawofambition.com. And I'll see you guys on the next video.